I don't need to. Okay, teen pregnancy is a very popular pop culture topic, and there are many different TV shows that have been broadcasted throughout the last couple of years, showing and explaining and partaking in the lives of teenagers with children. There are a few different TV shows playing, but some of the most popular ones are Teen Mom and 16 and Pregnant. MTV started with the show 16 and Pregnant, and after the following certain moms with kids, they created the show Teen Mom. Having children as a teenager can really affect their life, not only in the short run, but the long run as well. Since teens are physically capable of having children, but not always emotionally ready, it can quickly become overwhelming and stressful. Having to worry about finances and education, whether it's high school or college, having a family and everything else that comes along with a baby, and developing a family. Having a child at a young age really causes a person to grow up quickly and miss out on things a normal teenager would do without a baby. Having a kid is sometimes very serious, and in this generation it seems like teens are present tense rather than the future. I've always been careful in avoiding having a child as a teenager because I know I'm not ready for a kid physically and financially, and if I were to have a kid it would only negatively affect my life. Teenagers usually make a low wage or rate of pay most of the time. About $7.25 an hour because I don't even know what that is. An average baby costs about $800 a month until about the age of 2, says babycenter.com. As the child starts to grow up, the monthly cost only goes up. I can barely afford college and all my expenses. There would be no way I could afford a child when I'm still going to school. It'd only make things harder. I have known a few teenagers in high school that have had a child at a young age, and most of them end up dropping out of high school and college. One of my friends named Jessica got pregnant twice as a sophomore in high school, but ended up having miscarriages with both of the babies. A girl that I met in middle school got pregnant as a freshman in high school and had to drop out when she was 15 years old. I ran into her about a year ago, and I looked at her and she looked very miserable, as if she was really struggling with her life as a mother. I don't know if the father is still around, but it really didn't look like she got very much help. She and her kid were wearing dirty clothes, and she looked very unhappy. I didn't talk to her, but I could tell just by watching her that having a kid at a young age really impacted her life. Most of the time, people usually think about the mother and how hard her life is. The father is often left out of the picture, and he never really gets a say in the mother's decision what is best to do for the child. Ultimately, the father needs to be just as important as the mother. A son or daughter needs to have their father in their life. The breakup rate of teens that have a child together is tremendously high. 8 out of 10 fathers will not end up with their mother they had. 8 out of 10 fathers will not end up with the mother they had the child with, says stayteen.org. With such a high rate of fathers leaving the mother with the child, the father oftentimes has to pay child support. Paying child support at the age 17 can be very overwhelming to a teen dad, so most of the time he simply won't pay it. Lots of times teen dads say that it is not that big of a deal, but not that big of a deal if he can't pay for his kid. If a father isn't paying for his kid, then the mother is going to struggle to buy clothes and food and daycare for the kid. Although it can be very tough for a teen to pay $400 a month for a child when he's making $7.25 an hour at a part-time job, I believe the father should still try his best in giving the mother something for the child that he put on this earth. The father shouldn't be left out of the picture on what he thinks is best for the child. Even if he didn't give birth to the child, he still has a large impact on whether or not the child can have a good life. The father is unable to financially support the mother and their child. The parents end up having lots of unneeded stress, which is a big cause of teens breaking up. Lots of times parents get mad at the father and take their anger out on them, causing the father not to like the parents, ending up in many fights. If you don't pay child support, the mother can legally take you to court and make you pay it, whether you have the money or not. If you do not have the money, the state will take it out of your future paychecks until it is paid off. Even if you don't start paying child support until you were 25, the mother can keep track of what you owe her And when you do have a job, you have to start paying child support. I think the best thing a father can do is try and get custody of the baby half-time. That way he doesn't have to pay child support, and the baby gets to see his or her parents in equal amount. There are many different reasons why teenagers get pregnant at such a young age. The biggest reason, I think, is not using birth control or wearing a condom. Studies have shown that teenagers from a small town tend to get bored and start up in sexual activity too. This will wind up in teenage girls getting pregnant from sexual activity and then ending them up not being able to afford an abortion. Teenage girls getting raped or molested when they are young is another reason for this too. After researching some observations that have been made that teenage girls who have been raped or assaulted at a young age think it is okay for them to have sex with whomever they please because their virginity has been taken away from them without agreement. This results in teenage girls having sex at young ages. At that young of an age, you really don't have the knowledge of what can happen if you have unprotected sex. If a teenager were to get pregnant at age 12, and this has happened many times, it can make the mother very ill and also the baby. Not only can the mother easily miscarriage, the baby can have many birth defects because the mother is physically not healthy enough or not grown enough to hold the baby for 9 months. Most of the time, if the teen were to get pregnant that young, the baby would die. If the child were to have a baby at an age of 13 or 14, how can they financially afford this child? Another big reason for teenage pregnancy is lack of parental care. When parents are not around to raise their child with the rights and wrongs of having sex, and the teenager is unaware of what can potentially happen from having sex without a condom or birth control. When someone has a baby as a teenager, there is a very high risk of having high blood pressure or receiving diabetes. This is called pregnancy-induced hypertension. This is a very dangerous medical condition that can result in excess protein in the urine, swollen hands, and face and organ damage. Teenagers are also at a high rate of having low birth weight baby. This would be called a premature baby, which is when they have less time to grow in the womb. A low birth weight baby ranges from 3.3 to 5.5 pounds, and that is very bad and can often lead to death for the baby. Something that isn't really thought of are the mother's feelings. Most of the time, the mother is scared to tell her parents she is pregnant. They often feel scared and isolate themselves from people because they don't want people knowing. It can be something very embarrassing because in most cases, teenagers regret what they did and do not understand how to live up to the consequences of having sex. When teenagers isolate themselves, they tend to get depressed and they don't participate in exercise, often have a bad diet or don't eat at all, and also have sleep deprivation. All of those are essential needs for a healthy baby. Telling the parents whether or not they accept it is a very good idea and create a better future for the child inside the teenage mother. A good way to make teenagers most aware of the chances of getting pregnant or using protection is the TV. Most teenagers spend a good amount of time at home, usually watching TV. The most common TV station is MTV, which has different shows like Teen Mom and 16 and Pregnant, which actually films the lives of teenagers with children at young ages. Teen Mom is an MTV show that has over 6 million viewers and is very popular, but I think it gives a false reality on how hard it is to really take care of the kid. The moms in the show are getting paid over $75,000 per year, which allows them to be able to buy their own house, car, and even pay for college at the age of 20. This misleads most ideas and visions of what a true life would be like raising a child. Most people that are watching the show are about 12 to 34 years old. The younger viewers have a mindset of having a child at a young age isn't actually as hard as it truly is. These shows give a bad interpretation of what the actors' lives are really like, and doesn't show the senses of the heartbreak and stress they face in their lives. Since they are seeing such a good lives from the mothers of these shows, teens have actually gotten pregnant on purpose just to be on the show. There has been many different seasons consisting of There has been 5 different seasons consisting of 3 seasons in the first Teen Mom and 2 seasons in this Teen Mom 2. This TV show corrupts the teenage mind on how hard it is to balance life with a child. All in all, teenage pregnancy is not a good way to spend your years in high school or early college. Throughout this essay, many points have been proven and facts have been stated about why teenage girls may get pregnant and how boys may be taken for granted, but in the end they both have done something together to create this child that was created. It is very important for teenagers to understand every aspect that goes into creating a child or children and how it could deter their future and all their goals and dreams. Hopefully this essay has opened your eyes, hopefully this essay has opened your views on teenage pregnancy, and you will be able to raise awareness about what you could think or what could happen, how to prevent it, and why it is an issue. This is also a large issue in our world today, so the more teenagers and parents at that understand the consequences of participating in sexual activity, the more likely they will be aware of what could happen in the future. Teenage pregnancy isn't necessarily a terrible thing as long as teenagers understand what kind of situation they're getting into and what their future holds.